She would, given her way, have us mate with them. To her, the mixture of magical and muggle blood is not an abomination, but something to be encouraged.
If you weren't born on another planet and you're a Harry Potter fan, then you'll know that Lord Voldemort absolutely, positively hated muggles, muggleborns, and just about everything that came with them. And I don't think that's a fact that anyone can argue with, because, for starters, he waged 2 campaigns of war in order to rid the wizarding world of all Muggleborns, amongst many other things, and it's those many other things that I want to talk about today, because believe me when I say, there's a lot of them. In fact, part of the reason Tom Riddle transitioned into Lord Voldemort is due to how much he despised them, which is something I'm also going to address today. So with that being said, let's not wait any longer. Let's uncover why Lord Voldemort hated Muggles and Muggleborns. So going by the title of this video and what I've said in the introduction, I think it's safe to say that we all know Voldemort hated Muggles, Muggleborns, and just general Muggle nature. It's also no surprise he hated the mixture of magical and non-magical blood. The Dark Lord's goal, well, one of them, was to rid the magical world of all non-magical people. He accused Muggleborns of stealing the gift of magic, something they didn't deserve, and it just made me wonder why. Why did he hate them so much? How did this all come about? Well, the good thing is, there is a root to his hatred. The bad thing, or the sad thing, is that it's quite a bitter road that stretches back to Tom's childhood. I think a fair assessment of young Tom Riddle's childhood is that it wasn't a good one. He never knew his mother or father, and he grew up in an orphanage. He definitely must have wondered why he was in the position he was in. He had no idea about the situation with his parents, no idea that his mother gave up on life, and that his father rejected him before he was even born. He just knew that he was alone. Of course, he discovered the truth eventually, which made him even more bitter than he already was. He looked upon his mother as weak for succumbing to death, and was surprised and disappointed to learn that it was she who was the magical parent, let alone be a Gaunt, a family who were at one point very wealthy and very prestigious, a family who were direct descendants of Salazar Slytherin himself. Tom Riddle's original goal, remember, was to complete Slytherin's noble work by purifying Hogwarts until he set his sights on bigger things. It angered him that his father abandoned him before he was even born, rejected by someone who would not even embrace his birth. Yes, the circumstances around Tom Sr. were very unusual. Okay, it was an extremely unlikely circumstance, but his son didn't know that. It must have been a truly awful feeling to believe you weren't wanted by your parents, and I think that's where the blackness in Tom's heart began. It's where the monster was born. It can be presumed that his father's hatred towards his mother was interpreted by Voldemort as a hatred towards wizarding kind, and hence he overcompensates by hating the Muggles and Muggleborns instead. As the years went by, Tom became even more ashamed of his Muggle heritage, and it actually sickened him to think Muggle blood flowed within him. He resented the Muggle world because that was the environment he was raised in, but it wasn't the one he should have been born into. He already knew he was different for a very long time, even before Hogwarts. He could do things no other child around him could do. He knew he was special. If you remember when he first met Dumbledore, when he was told he was a wizard, his reaction was, "Is that magic I can do?" I knew I was different. I knew I was special. If there's one thing Tom really cared for, it was magic. He fully embraced it. He was set on becoming a first-rate wizard, the best in his year, and that he did. He wanted to take magic to levels that nobody had ever seen. And I believe that despite rejecting the Muggle side of his family, the frustration of the truth of his parentage festered throughout his entirety, adding to his ever-increasing lust for power. Every time he heard a Muggleborn, I believe he was trying to wipe away the sin, the embarrassment of his parentage. But he soon realised that the only way he could escape the torment of his shameful past was to establish an unchallenged dominance. Once this thought nested in his mind, there was no going back. Although he feared death, he hated even more that his mother succumbed to it, a muggle weakness, a muggle defect. He viewed it as a complete embarrassment that one's life could end due to mortality. Wizards normally lived a lot longer than muggles, twice if not 3 times as long. The path was there, the road was there, he just needed to uncover the final details.
I read something rather odd about a bit of rare magic. I thought perhaps you could illuminate me.
Only then, only when he could not die, could Tom Riddle finally rid himself of his muggle heritage. His creation of the Horcrux to him, I believe, metaphorically meant that he no longer had muggle blood within him, which is why none of the Death Eaters ever question his blood status. How can an immortal wizard have filthy muggle blood? It doesn't make sense. And next came his name. Gone was Tom Riddle, a plain, meaningless name that he believed would not bring him the respect he deserved. We discovered this in the books. He wanted to be different from the others, and he was extremely greedy for power.
You're the heir of Slytherin. You're Voldemort. Surely you didn't think I was going to keep my filthy muggle father's name.
He was above everyone. He was a lord, and adopting the name Voldemort was synonymous with his conquering of death. Through the ashes of a half-blooded orphan who against all odds became the most powerful dark wizard in existence, emerged Lord Voldemort, the man who would bring upon a change like no other. No longer would the mixture of magical and muggle blood be permitted. No longer would Muggleborns be taught magic that they had stolen, and no longer would there be a magical world inhabited by those unworthy to be part of it. He would restore prosperity back to the magical community, with him at the very head. The question still remains of whether it's a complete contradiction of Voldemort despising Muggles when he's half Muggle himself. But the truth is, Voldemort was a bully. And a bully normally highlights the things they hate about themselves. They project their insecurities onto their victims, and in this case, Muggles, Muggleborns, and the magical world. I think Voldemort was always going to have something or someone to blame. It actually drove him on, and in reality it made him who he was, even if that was a monster. The Dark Lord was even planning a Muggleborn relocation camp. That was the lengths he was willing to go in order to eradicate them from the wizarding world. I would definitely have loved to see how the Death Eaters would have reacted if they had properly known that Voldemort was a half-blood. Anyway guys, with that being said, that is my take on why Lord Voldemort hated Muggles and Muggleborns. As usual, if there's anything else that you'd like to add, then please do so in the comment section below. So guys, thanks very much for watching. See you all in the next video. Have a good day.